The 72-hour deadline expired at exactly 12 round GMT. Ambassador Veltar had expected Earth's surrender long before the final moment. But humanity's silence had forced him to proceed with standard pacification protocols. All vessels, begin formation Alpha 7, he commanded from the bridge of the Confederation flagship. Primary targets are population centers with more than 1 million inhabitants. Secondary targets are military installations and government centers. The alien fleet moved with practiced efficiency. 43 massive ships took positions over Earth's major cities, while smaller vessels prepared to eliminate orbital defenses. It was the same formation they had used successfully on thousands of worlds. Admiral Hai Young-shin watched the enemy deployment from the hidden command center. They're doing exactly what our simulations predicted. Formation Alpha 7, just like their historical records showed. All stations report ready, announced Captain So-Young Park from her coordination post. Sol Defense Grid has targeting locks on all enemy vessels. Stealth Fleet is in position behind their formation. Quantum weapons are charged and ready. The aliens began their attack with overwhelming confidence. Energy beams lanced down from orbit toward major cities, expecting to see primitive defensive systems overwhelmed within minutes. Instead, they watched in shock as their weapons were stopped by energy barriers that shouldn't exist. Planetary defense shields are holding, reported engineer Min Seo Kang. Enemy weapons are only penetrating about 12% of maximum barrier strength. Admiral Veltar stared at his displays in confusion. Earth was supposed to have primitive nuclear weapons and chemical rockets. Where had these advanced defensive systems come from? Scan for hidden installations, he ordered his tactical officers. There must be defensive platforms we didn't detect. But the scans showed nothing. To the alien sensors, Earth still looked like a primitive world with basic technology. They had no way to detect the Sol defense grid, because human stealth technology was based on principles they had never encountered. Admiral Shin came the voice of Dr. Jae-Sung Lim from the Quantum Weapons Facility. Request permission to begin Phase 2. Permission granted. Show them what humanity can do. The counterattack began with a demonstration that broke every rule of warfare the aliens understood. 12 of their ships suddenly suffered catastrophic system failures simultaneously, with no visible weapons fired at them. Power cores overloaded, life support systems shut down, and navigation computers crashed. What just happened? Admiral Veltar demanded. How did our ships lose power with no incoming fire? His tactical officer could only stare at the readings. Unknown, sir. Our sensors show no weapons discharge, no energy beams, no projectiles. The affected ships just stopped working. Dr. Lim smiled grimly as he prepared the next quantum strike. Target their command vessel's propulsion system. Let's see how they handle losing their ability to maneuver. The Confederation flagship suddenly lurched as its exotic matter drives failed. Admiral Veltar found himself floating in zero gravity as artificial gravity systems shut down throughout the ship. This is impossible, he whispered. Their technology is primitive. They shouldn't be capable of this. That's when the Sol defense grid revealed itself. 47 weapon platforms that had been invisible to alien sensors suddenly appeared on all their displays, surrounding the fleet in a perfect sphere of destruction. Each platform was larger than most of the alien ships and carried enough firepower to crack moons. Multiple contacts, screamed the tactical officer. Massive energy signatures appearing throughout the system. We're surrounded. The hidden platforms opened fire with antimatter cannons that punched through Confederation shields like they didn't exist. 3 alien cruisers were destroyed in the first volley, their hulls simply vaporizing under the intense energy bombardment. Captain Seung-Ho Baek chose that moment to decloak the stealth fleet. 50 human ships materialized behind the alien formation, their exotic matter drives allowing them to move faster than anything the Confederation had ever seen. All ships, weapons free, Admiral Shin commanded. Target their weapons systems. We want prisoners, not wreckage. The stealth fleet attacked with surgical precision. Instead of destroying enemy ships, they disabled propulsion and weapon systems, leaving the vessels helpless but intact. It was a level of tactical control that the aliens had never seen before. Admiral Veltar watched his fleet being systematically dismantled by an enemy that shouldn't exist. How many ships do they have? Unknown, sir. Our sensors can't get accurate counts. Some of their vessels appear to be using cloaking technology that's blocking our detection systems. That's impossible. Stealth technology that advanced would require at least The Admiral stopped mid-sentence as the implications hit him. How long have they been preparing for this? Lieutenant Colonel Kyung-Min Ryu led the first boarding parties onto disabled alien ships. His teams moved with practiced efficiency, stunning enemy crew members with non-lethal weapons and securing critical systems. Boarding Team Alpha to command, he reported. We have control of the enemy cruiser. Crew is subdued but alive. Beginning prisoner processing. The boarding operations were humanity's most important objective. Each captured ship contained crucial intelligence about the Galactic Confederation. But more importantly, it contained aliens who might be freed from their mental conditioning. Dr. Yoonji Nam accompanied the medical teams onto captured vessels. Her job was to identify aliens who still retained their original personalities, versus those who had been completely modified. This one shows signs of recent conditioning, she reported, examining an unconscious alien officer. The neural pathways are still flexible. We might be able to reverse the modifications. The systematic capture of Confederation ships continued for 6 hours. Human forces disabled and boarded 27 vessels before Admiral Veltar finally understood the scope of his defeat. Sir, his remaining tactical officer reported, we've lost 60% of our fleet. Our weapons can't penetrate their defenses, and their weapons go through our shields like they don't exist. We can't even target most of their ships. What about withdrawal? They're jamming our jump drives. We can't escape the system. Admiral Veltar stared at the tactical display showing the remnants of his once mighty fleet. The humans had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. They had defeated a Confederation fleet without destroying it. Open a communication channel to the human command, he ordered, quietly. Admiral Shin's face appeared on the alien view screen. Admiral Veltar, I presume. Are you ready to discuss terms? What terms? He asked, confused. You've won. Why aren't you destroying our remaining ships? Because we're not the Galactic Confederation, Admiral Shin replied. We don't conquer. We don't destroy defeated enemies. We offer them something your empire has never seen, the chance to be free. The concept was so alien to the Admiral that he couldn't process it at first. Free? What do you mean? I mean that your crew members who have been genetically modified to serve the Confederation can be restored to their original personalities. The conquered species in your fleet can return to their homeworlds, and you can help us contact other civilizations that want to be free of Confederation control. Captain Park took over the communication. Admiral, how many species has the Confederation conquered in the last 1,000 years? 3,417, he answered automatically. And how many of those conquests were truly voluntary? Admiral Veltar was quiet for a long moment. None. The Confederation doesn't ask for volunteers. Then you understand why we can't allow your empire to continue, Admiral Shin said. But we're not going to become conquerors ourselves. We're going to be liberators. On the captured ships, Dr. Nam was making remarkable discoveries. Many of the alien crew members showed signs of reversible conditioning. With proper medical treatment, they could recover their original personalities and memories. Command, this is Dr. Nam. I've found 12 individuals who appear to be recently captured. Their modifications are superficial and can be reversed with our neural restoration techniques. The implications were staggering. If humanity could restore the original personalities of conquered aliens, they could learn the locations of homeworlds that were still fighting Confederation control. There's something else, Dr. Nam continued. Some of these aliens are from species that were never fully conquered. There are resistance movements throughout the galaxy. Commander Jinho Choi was analyzing the captured ships' databases. Admiral, you need to see this. Their navigation computers contain star maps showing current Confederation territory. The Empire isn't as stable as they pretended. The maps showed a galaxy in constant conflict. Hundreds of worlds were in active rebellion against Confederation rule. The Empire maintained control through fear and superior technology, but their hold on many systems was tenuous. They've been presenting themselves as the stable, peaceful rulers of the galaxy, Jinho reported, but the truth is that they're fighting independence movements on dozens of worlds simultaneously. Admiral Shin studied the strategic situation. So if we could coordinate with these resistance movements, we could liberate the entire galaxy, General Taemin Yu concluded. The countdown timer showed 36 hours remaining when Director Yu Jin-oh gave the order that would change galactic history forever. Activate the Sol Defense Grid. Authorization code, Prometheus 77 Alpha. Deep in space, what the aliens had dismissed as primitive mining stations and scientific outposts began to transform. Asteroid-based platforms that had looked like natural rocks for decades suddenly revealed themselves as massive weapon systems. Disguised solar collectors opened to show antimatter cannons that could vaporize battleships. Engineer Min-Seo Kang watched the activation sequence from the main control center. Grid stations 1 through 47 are online. All weapon systems showing green. Stealth fields are holding steady. The Sol Defense Grid was humanity's greatest achievement and its most carefully guarded secret. For 20 years, hundreds of weapon platforms had been hidden throughout the solar system, disguised so perfectly that even the aliens' advanced sensors couldn't detect them. How long before they noticed the power signatures? Asked Dr. Hyun-Woo Kim. They won't, Min-Seo replied with confidence. Each platform generates its own power using zero-point energy extraction. To their sensors, it looks like natural background radiation. Meanwhile, in a classified facility beneath the Sahara Desert, Dr. Jae-Sung Lim was making final preparations for humanity's most terrifying weapon. Project Nemesis had been 30 years in development, and even most of the Prometheus team didn't know its full capabilities. Quantum entanglement targeting is locked onto their command vessels, he reported to the control room. We have instant strike capability against any target in their fleet. The aliens had made a critical assumption about human technology. They expected primitive nuclear weapons and chemical rockets because that's what their sensors showed them. What they couldn't detect was that humans had weaponized quantum mechanics itself. Explain it to me one more time, General Taemin Yu requested. How does a quantum weapon work? Dr. Lim smiled grimly. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. When two particles are quantum entangled, anything that happens to one instantly affects the other, regardless of distance. We've learned to entangle particles with specific atoms in their ship hulls. And then, we change the quantum state of our particles, which instantly changes the state of the entangled particles in their ships. We can make their hull materials become unstable, their power systems overload, or their life support systems shut down. Distance and shields are irrelevant because the effect happens inside their ships. While the secret weapons came online, Captain Sung-Ho Baek was preparing Earth's hidden fleet for deployment. The stealth ships had been humanity's most ambitious project, using technology that the aliens had declared impossible for such a young species. Metamaterial cloaking is active on all vessels, he reported from the bridge of the lead ship. We're invisible to every form of detection they possess. The stealth fleet was small by galactic standards, only 50 ships, but each one carried enough firepower to destroy a planet. More importantly, they used exotic matter drives that could move faster than anything in the alien fleet. How is that possible? Captain So-Young Park had asked during the briefing. Their technology is thousands of years more advanced than ours. Because they followed the predictable path, Captain Baek had explained. They improved existing technologies gradually over millennia. We had to start from nothing, so we went straight to the theoretical limits of physics. The aliens had fusion drives that were highly efficient. Humans had built exotic matter drives that manipulated space-time itself. The aliens had energy shields that could stop most attacks. Humans had developed metamaterial cloaking that bent light, gravity, and electromagnetic radiation around their ships. The advantage of being the underdog, Captain Beck had noted, is that you can't afford to think conventionally. Admiral Ha Young-shin was coordinating the overall defense from the primary command center. As the pieces of humanity's hidden arsenal came online, she felt a mixture of pride and terror at what her species had accomplished. Stealth fleet reports ready for deployment. Sol Defense Grid is fully operational. Quantum weapons are locked on target. All planetary defense networks are active. Dr. Kim studied the tactical displays showing both fleets. The alien formation looked overwhelmingly powerful, until you added the human assets they couldn't see. Their fleet has more ships, but our individual weapons are more powerful, Admiral Shin explained. They're using technology that's advanced but predictable. We're using technology that shouldn't exist according to their understanding of physics. The secret of human technological development had been focus. While the aliens had gradually improved everything over thousands of years, humans had spent 50 years developing weapons specifically designed to fight technologically superior enemies. Show me the power comparison, General Yu requested. Min SEO brought up the energy output charts. Their entire fleet generates about 2.3 exawatts of total power. Our sole defense grid alone can output 4.7 exawatts, and that's just our defensive systems. The numbers were staggering. Humanity had built a defensive network with twice the firepower of the attacking fleet, and the aliens didn't even know it existed. What about their shields? Asked Dr. Yoon Ji-nam. Conventional energy shields, Dr. Lim replied. They're designed to stop energy weapons and kinetic projectiles. They're useless against quantum entanglement attacks, and our antimatter weapons punch through them like paper through water. Lieutenant Colonel Kyungmin Ryu was preparing the boarding teams for the most dangerous part of the operation. Our job is to capture their ships intact. We need to learn their technology, and more importantly, we need to rescue any unmodified prisoners they might have. The boarding operation would be crucial for understanding the true scope of the Galactic Confederation. How many species had they conquered? How many worlds were under their control? And most importantly, were there any unconquered civilizations that could be warned about the Confederation's methods? Remember, Colonel Ryu told his teams, these aren't our enemies. The individual aliens in that fleet are victims just like we would have been. The real enemy is the system that conquered and modified them. As the final preparations continued, Director O reviewed the strategic situation one more time. Their fleet is positioned exactly where our simulations predicted. They're using the standard Confederation conquest formation, which we've studied for decades. They have overwhelming numerical superiority and advanced technology. But, prompted Dr. Kim, they're fighting the last war. They're prepared to overwhelm a primitive civilization with superior numbers and technology. They're not prepared to fight an enemy that's been specifically designing countermeasures to their exact tactics for 50 years. The alien fleet had 43 capital ships and 300 support vessels. It should have been more than enough to conquer any single planet. But they were about to discover that Earth had been preparing for exactly this scenario since before most of their crew members were born. There's something else, Admiral Shin said quietly. Something that might be our greatest advantage. What's that? They've been conquering primitive civilizations for 1,000 years. They've never fought an enemy that showed mercy to defeated opponents or treated prisoners with respect. They don't understand that strength and compassion can exist together. Dr. Nam nodded thoughtfully. So when we demonstrate overwhelming military superiority, while also treating captured aliens with dignity, it's going to break their entire understanding of how civilizations work. They've built their empire on the assumption that only the ruthless survive. We're about to prove them wrong. The countdown timer showed 24 hours remaining. In one day, the Galactic Confederation would learn that their standard conquest procedure had a fatal flaw. It only worked against unprepared enemies. Earth had been preparing for this fight for 50 years, and humanity was about to show the galaxy what happened when you threatened a species that had spent half a century expecting exactly that threat. The aliens thought they were about to conquer another primitive world. Instead, they were flying into the most sophisticated trap in galactic history. The transmission came at exactly noon, Earth Standard Time. Ambassador Veltar appeared on every television screen, computer monitor, and communication device on the planet. His friendly diplomatic mask was completely gone, replaced by cold authority. People of Earth, the time for pretense has ended. I speak now with the full authority of the Galactic Confederation Military Command. Dr. Hyunwoo Kim watched the broadcast from the Emergency Command Center, deep beneath the Swiss mountains. Around him, world leaders and military commanders listened in tense silence as humanity's future was decided by an alien conqueror. Your species has been evaluated and classified as a significant threat to galactic stability. However, the Confederation is not without mercy. We offer you one final opportunity to avoid unnecessary destruction. Ambassador Veltar's image was replaced by display screens showing detailed maps of Earth's major cities, military bases, and government centers. Every location was marked with targeting coordinates. These are your terms of surrender. First, all nuclear weapons and delivery systems must be dismantled within 48 hours. Second, your military forces will be reduced to local police units only. Third, your population growth will be limited to replacement levels under Confederation oversight. Fourth, all space-based assets will be transferred to Confederation control. Captain So-Young Park felt her hands clench into fists as she listened. The aliens weren't just demanding surrender. They were demanding the complete destruction of human independence. Fifth, the ambassador continued, voluntary genetic modification programs will begin immediately to reduce aggressive tendencies and improve compatibility with Confederation society. These modifications are painless and will help your species integrate peacefully into the galactic community. Dr. Yunji Nam almost laughed at the word voluntary. She had seen what those modifications really did to thinking beings. They didn't reduce aggression. They removed the capacity for independent thought entirely. You have exactly 72 hours to begin compliance with these terms. Failure to comply will result in the implementation of standard pacification protocols. I assure you that compliance is preferable to the alternative. The transmission ended, leaving Earth's leaders staring at blank screens. For several minutes, nobody spoke. The ultimatum was clear: become willing slaves or face extinction. General Taimin Yu was the first to break the silence. Well, that's that. They've dropped all pretense. Now we know exactly what we're dealing with. 72 hours, muttered Minister Dong Hyun Lee. They're not giving us time to think or plan. They want panic and quick surrender. Commander Jin Ho Choi pulled up the latest sensor readings from the hidden alien fleet. The ships have moved closer. They're now positioned for optimal bombardment of major population centers. If we refuse, they can destroy every major city on Earth within minutes. How many ships total? Asked Dr. Kim. 43 capital ships, each one bigger than our largest space station. Probably 300 smaller vessels. Conservative estimate of their firepower suggests they could crack continents. Director Yu Jin-oh had been quiet throughout the broadcast, but now she stood up and walked to the main display screen. Before we start planning our surrender, I think it's time you all learned about the Prometheus project. She entered a series of security codes that made the room's displays change to show files marked with the highest classification levels. 50 years ago, a group of scientists and military strategists began asking uncomfortable questions about first contact scenarios. The screens showed plans, blueprints, and technical specifications that made the assembled leaders lean forward in surprise. What if the aliens who contact us are hostile? What if they're imperialists who have conquered hundreds of other worlds? What if their peaceful approach is just the first step in a standard conquest procedure? General Yu studied the technical displays with growing amazement. These look like weapon systems. Very advanced weapon systems, exactly. For 50 years, we've been developing technology specifically designed to fight a superior alien force. Not just any aliens, specifically the kind that would approach Earth with overwhelming force disguised as peaceful contact. Captain Park was reading over technical specifications that seemed almost impossible. These power output numbers, these weapon ranges, how is this even possible with human technology? Because we've been working on it longer than the aliens think any primitive species would be capable of. They assume that younger civilizations panic when contacted and make desperate short-term plans. They don't expect decades of careful preparation. Dr. Nam looked at biological weapon specifications. You've been planning to fight aliens for 50 years, but how did you know what kind of biology to target? We didn't, Eugene admitted. So we developed weapons that work against any carbon-based life form, any silicon-based life form, and several exotic alternatives. We also developed weapons that target technology instead of biology. The displays showed orbital platforms disguised as mining stations, weapon systems hidden inside asteroids, and ships that looked like space debris but carried enough firepower to destroy small moons. The Sol defense grid has been operational for 20 years, Eugene continued. Every mining operation and scientific station in the outer solar system is actually a heavily armed fortress. We have more firepower hidden in the asteroid belt than the Confederation fleet has in total. Commander Choi was staring at sensor arrays he didn't know existed. You mean we've been tracking their fleet with weapons platforms they can't even detect? Our stealth technology is based on principles they've never encountered. While they were conquering primitive civilizations, we were developing countermeasures specifically designed to fight technologically superior enemies. Engineer Min Seo Kang, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up. The quantum entanglement weapons are ready for deployment. We can target any ship in their fleet instantly, regardless of distance or defensive systems. Dr. Kim felt like the world had shifted beneath his feet. You're telling me that Earth has been preparing for this exact scenario for half a century? That we actually have a chance of fighting back? I'm telling you that the Galactic Confederation has made a critical error, Yujin replied. They've been fighting primitive civilizations for so long that they've forgotten what it's like to face an enemy that's been specifically preparing for them, General. Yu was studying tactical deployment plans. How many people know about this? Essential personnel only. Maybe 3,000 people worldwide have been working on various aspects of the project. Everyone else, including most government leaders, had no idea. Why the secrecy? Because if the aliens detected our preparations, they would have simply destroyed Earth from a distance instead of attempting conquest. The diplomatic approach only works if they think we're helpless. Admiral Hai Young-shin, who had been quietly reviewing fleet specifications, finally looked up. So when they scan our defenses, they see primitive nuclear missiles and chemical rockets. They have no idea about the real weapons. Exactly. To their sensors, Earth looks like a typical primitive world with exactly the kind of limited defenses they expect. They've been gathering intelligence about our decoy systems, while our real defenses remain completely hidden. The room fell silent again as everyone absorbed the implications. Earth wasn't helpless. Humanity had been preparing for this fight for 50 years. There's one more thing, Yujin said. The Confederation's standard conquest procedure has a fatal flaw. They always position their fleets the same way, use the same tactics, follow the same timeline. They've been using the same successful strategy for 1,000 years. Which means we know exactly how they're going to attack, where they're going to position their ships, and what their tactical priorities will be. We've had 50 years to plan countermeasures for their specific approach. Captain Park was beginning to smile. So while they think they're about to conquer another helpless primitive world, they're actually about to attack the most heavily defended system they've ever encountered, using tactics we've specifically prepared to counter, against weapons they don't know exist. Dr. Kim looked around the room at his fellow leaders. So what's our answer to their ultimatum? General Yu was already reaching for the communication controls. I think our answer should be to show them what happens when they threaten Earth. Outside, the alien fleet waited confidently for humanity's inevitable surrender, never suspecting that their prey had been sharpening its teeth for 50 years. Commander Jin Ho Choi couldn't sleep. For 3 weeks, he had been tracking the mysterious signals coming from the outer edges of the solar system. His deep space monitoring stations were picking up more activity every day. What he saw in the latest reports made his blood run cold. Get me Dr. Kim immediately, he told his night shift operator. Tell him it's urgent. The hidden alien fleet was massive. Jinho's computers counted at least 40 large ships and hundreds of smaller vessels. They were positioned strategically around the solar system, creating a perfect blockade. No ship could leave Earth without passing through their formation. This isn't a diplomatic mission, Jinho muttered, studying the tactical positioning. This is an invasion force. Dr. Hyun-woo Kim arrived at the monitoring station within an hour. When he saw the data, his face went pale. The alien fleet had enough firepower to destroy every major city on Earth 10 times over. The single diplomatic ship orbiting Earth was just a tiny fraction of their real strength. How long have they been out there? Dr. Kim asked. The first ships arrived 2 days before Ambassador Veltar made contact, Jinho replied. They've been adding more vessels every day since then. They were never planning a peaceful first contact. They were planning a conquest. Meanwhile, Dr. Yoonji Nam was making her own disturbing discoveries in the medical bay. She had been studying tissue samples from the alien diplomats, and what she found explained a lot about their strange behavior. The aliens showed signs of extensive genetic modification. Their brain chemistry had been altered to make them more obedient and less capable of independent thought. Some of the modifications were so severe that the original personality was probably completely gone. They're not really diplomats, she explained to Captain So-young Park during a secret meeting. They're puppets. Someone has turned them into biological robots programmed to say and do whatever their masters want. Captain Park felt sick as she listened to the report. You mean these species were conquered and then changed to serve as perfect diplomatic tools? Exactly. The Galactic Confederation doesn't just conquer other worlds. They erase the conquered people's ability to resist. These representatives probably don't even remember their original lives. The evidence was mounting rapidly. Yujin Oh, who directed several classified research projects, called an emergency meeting with Earth's top military leaders. She had been quietly investigating the Galactic Confederation since first contact, and her findings were terrifying. According to their own historical records, which they shared with us to show their peaceful nature, the Confederation has absorbed over 3,000 species in the last millennium, Eugen reported. Every single absorption followed the same pattern: peaceful first contact, diplomatic negotiations, then sudden military action when the target species refused to submit. General Tai Min-yu, head of the Global Defense Council, studied the data with growing anger. So this is standard procedure for them? They pretend to be peaceful while preparing for war. It gets worse, Eugen continued. Species that resist are completely destroyed. Species that submit are genetically modified to remove their capacity for rebellion. Either way, the original civilization ceases to exist. The breaking point came when Captain Park decided to confront Ambassador Veltar directly. She arranged a private meeting on the space station, claiming she wanted to discuss security arrangements for future diplomatic exchanges. Ambassador, we've detected unusual energy signatures in the outer solar system, she said, watching his reaction carefully. Our sensors suggest there might be more ships out there than you mentioned. For just a moment, Ambassador Veltar's friendly mask slipped. His large black eyes grew cold and his smile became something predatory. Captain Park, your sensors are quite impressive for such a primitive species, he said. Yes, there are additional vessels. They are present for security purposes, as I'm sure you understand. Security against what? Earth doesn't have any deep space weapons that could threaten your diplomatic ship. The ambassador stood up and walked to the window, looking down at Earth. Captain, let me be honest with you. Your species has been classified as a Class 7 expansion threat by our evaluation teams. Humans reproduce quickly, develop technology rapidly, and show dangerous levels of territorial ambition. Left unchecked, you would eventually become a serious problem for galactic stability. Captain Park felt her heart racing, but she kept her voice steady. And what does that classification mean? It means that humanity's current trajectory is unacceptable. You will either accept our guidance willingly, or we will implement more direct measures to ensure compliance. The ambassador turned back to her with his fake smile restored. We really do prefer the peaceful approach, Captain. It's so much more efficient. That night, emergency meetings took place in secure locations around the world. Dr. Kim, Captain Park, Commander Choi, Dr. Nam, Director O, and dozens of other key leaders gathered virtually to share their findings. The situation is clear, Dr. Kim said grimly. We're not dealing with peaceful aliens who want to help us. We're dealing with a galactic empire that has conquered thousands of worlds, and they're preparing to add Earth to their collection. What are our options? Asked Minister Dong-Hyun Lee, who had been maintaining the diplomatic facade while secretly coordinating with the military analysis. Surrender and accept genetic modification to make us obedient slaves, Captain Park replied bitterly, or fight an enemy that has thousands of years of advanced technology and 40 times more ships than we even knew existed a month ago, Commander. Choi pulled up a tactical display showing the alien fleet positions. If they attack, we'll be completely surrounded. Earth's entire space fleet is maybe 20 ships, and most of those are research vessels. Against their fleet, we'd last about 10 minutes. Dr. Nam added her medical perspective. Even if we surrender, we won't really survive. The genetic modifications they use don't just make people obedient. They erase personality, creativity, and everything that makes us human. We'd be alive, but we wouldn't be us anymore. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the hopelessness of their situation. They were facing an enemy that had perfected the art of conquest over millennia. Humanity had been alive as a technological species for maybe 2 centuries, while the Confederation had been absorbing civilizations for 1,000 years. There is one more thing, Director O said quietly. Something I haven't told anyone yet. All eyes turned to her. Eugen O had been running classified projects for decades, and she rarely spoke unless she had something important to say. 50 years ago, when we first started receiving radio signals from space, some very smart people asked a simple question. What if the aliens who eventually contact us are hostile? What if first contact is actually first attack? What are you saying? Dr. Kim asked. I'm saying that humanity has been preparing for exactly this scenario for half a century. We've been assuming that any aliens advanced enough to reach Earth would probably be conquerors, not friends. The friendly diplomatic approach is exactly what we expected them to try first. General Yu leaned forward. Are you telling us that Earth has been secretly preparing for an alien invasion for 50 years? Director O smiled for the first time in weeks. General, I'm telling you that Earth has been preparing for this specific kind of alien invasion. The peaceful first contact followed by conquest approach is so obvious that we planned for it decades ago. What kind of preparations? Captain Park asked, hardly daring to hope. The kind that the Galactic Confederation has never encountered before, Eugene replied. They've spent 1,000 years fighting primitive civilizations that panic when confronted with superior technology. They've never fought a species that had 50 years to prepare specifically for them. Outside the space station, Ambassador Veltar was sending encrypted messages to the hidden fleet. Phase 1 was complete. Intelligence gathering was finished and humanity's military capabilities had been assessed as negligible. Phase 2 would begin in 72 hours, the final ultimatum. He had no idea that humanity's real military capabilities had been hidden so well that even his advanced sensors couldn't detect them. The Confederation was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who has been expecting you all along. The massive alien ship appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system like a silver mountain floating in space. It was 10 times larger than anything humans had ever built, its smooth surface covered in strange patterns that seemed to shift and glow in the starlight. The ship moved slowly toward Earth, sending out radio signals in perfect English. Dr. Hyunwoo Kim stood in the control room of the International Space Station, watching the readings on his computer screen. He had been the head of Earth's space program for 15 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. First contact with aliens was supposed to be exciting, but something felt wrong about the whole situation. They're asking for permission to enter Earth orbit, said his assistant, checking the communication systems. They say they come in peace and want to meet with our leaders. Hyunwoo nodded but kept frowning at the data. The alien ship was huge, but it was not alone. His deep space sensors were picking up strange readings from the outer edges of the solar system. There seemed to be other ships out there, staying hidden in the darkness between planets. On the main screen, an alien face appeared. It looked almost human, but with pale blue skin and large black eyes. When it spoke, its voice was calm and friendly. Greetings, people of Earth. I am Ambassador Veltar of the Galactic Confederation. We have traveled far to welcome your species into our great family of civilized worlds. We bring gifts of knowledge and friendship. Captain So Young Park watched the transmission from her command post on the military space station. She had been in charge of Earth's orbital defenses for 5 years, and her job was to protect the planet from any threats. Right now, every alarm in her head was going off. Something doesn't feel right about this, she told her second-in-command. Why is their ship so big if they just want to talk? And why are they asking so many questions about our weapons? The captain was right to be worried. During the first meeting, the aliens seemed very interested in Earth's nuclear missiles and military bases. They asked detailed questions about how many weapons humans had and where they kept them. They said it was to make sure the talks would be safe, but Captain Park didn't believe them. Minister Dong-hyun Lee was chosen to represent Earth in the formal negotiations. He was a skilled diplomat who had solved many international conflicts, but dealing with aliens was completely new territory. The meeting took place on a special space station built just for this occasion. The aliens arrived with great ceremony. Ambassador Veltar brought representatives from 12 different alien species. They all looked different. Some were tall and thin, others were short and round, and a few didn't look anything like humans at all. But they all acted the same way, speaking in careful, polite words that seemed rehearsed. Your species shows great promise, Ambassador Veltar said to Minister Lee during their first formal meeting. However, you are still very young in cosmic terms. The Galactic Confederation has rules that all member species must follow for the good of everyone. Minister Lee listened carefully as the ambassador explained these rules. Humans would be welcome to join the galactic community, but they would have to give up their right to expand beyond Earth's moon. They would also need to limit their population and reduce their military forces to almost nothing. These restrictions are for your own protection, the ambassador explained with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Young species often hurt themselves if they grow too quickly. We have thousands of years of experience managing such things. Dr. Yoonji Nam was part of the scientific team studying the alien visitors. As the expert in biology, her job was to learn about alien life forms and how they lived. What she discovered made her very uncomfortable. During medical checks required for the meetings, she noticed strange things about some of the alien representatives. Their brain scans showed signs of artificial changes, and their blood contained chemicals that were not natural. It looked like someone had changed them on purpose, maybe to control their behavior. "These aren't normal diplomats," she told Dr. Kim in a private meeting. "Some of them have been modified somehow. Their minds don't work the way they should naturally." Meanwhile, Captain Park was getting more suspicious every day. The aliens kept asking to tour Earth's military facilities. They wanted to see missile silos, naval bases, and aircraft carriers. They claimed it was to understand human culture better, but Captain Park knew a military assessment when she saw one. "They're not here to make friends," she told her officers during a secret meeting. "They're gathering intelligence about our defenses. This whole peace talk is just a cover for something else." The aliens also seemed surprised by how primitive human technology appeared to be. They laughed politely when they saw Earth's rockets and nuclear weapons, calling them charming and quaint. They acted like humans were children playing with dangerous toys. But Commander Jinho Choi, who was in charge of Earth's deep space monitoring systems, was seeing a different picture. His secret sensors, hidden throughout the solar system, were detecting massive energy signatures beyond Pluto. The reading suggested there were dozens of large ships waiting out there in the darkness. Why would peaceful diplomats need a fleet that big? He wondered, studying the data late at night. The hidden ships were staying just out of normal sensor range, but his advanced equipment could still detect them. Ambassador Veltar seemed to enjoy showing off the superior alien technology. He demonstrated devices that could create energy from nothing, and materials that were stronger than diamond but weighed almost nothing. Each demonstration was meant to show how much more advanced the aliens were compared to humans. "Your species has potential," he would say, "but you must learn patience. The galaxy is a dangerous place, and young civilizations often make mistakes that destroy them. We are here to guide you away from such errors." As the days passed, the pattern became clear to the humans who were paying attention. The aliens were not offering partnership. They were offering submission disguised as friendship. They wanted humans to give up everything that made them independent and trust alien wisdom for their future. Dr. Kim held secret meetings with other Earth leaders. Captain Park shared her concerns about the military intelligence gathering. Dr. Nam reported her findings about the modified alien diplomats. Commander Choi presented evidence of the hidden fleet. "We're not being invited to join anything," Dr. Kim concluded. "We're being prepared for conquest. The question is, what are we going to do about it?" The alien ship continued to orbit Earth, its representatives continuing their diplomatic talks while their hidden fleet waited in the darkness. Ambassador Veltar maintained his friendly smile, never knowing that humans were much better at detecting deception than he realized. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change the galaxy forever.